Hello. Look at my handsome doggy. He's so sleepy. Hey guys, how's it going? Mary Tully here from Tully's Training. And today we are going to be talking about positive reinforcement training. So we're going to talk about what all the fuss is about when it comes to positive reinforcement training. It seems like it's all anybody talks about anymore. We're going to talk about what it is. We're going to talk about how to reinforce a behavior properly, why we use positive reinforcement, and then I'm going to give you a couple of examples that you can use in your house today in order to have a better relationship with your dog and positively reinforce them. So first, the definition of positive reinforcement. I made a graph that I would like to show you because I think that you people are smart and you can handle it. This is my graph of reinforcement and punishment and all of those good things. So you will see we have positive reinforcement, positive punishment, then we have negative reinforcement and negative punishment. This is operant conditioning. This is the science of learning right here, all in a nutshell. And this is not theory. I mean, this is a theory, I guess. Everything's really a theory, but this is just kind of how learning works. So this is not, a technique that is like a training technique that's like a fad. This is positive reinforcement. It's just part of how we learn. And it is, we learn by punishment as well. So essentially, positive reinforcement means adding something into the environment in order to increase the frequency of a behavior. So the positive part or the negative part doesn't mean happy and mean or good and bad. It means adding something into the environment, positive, or taking something out of the environment, negative. Punishment and reinforcement just is what your goal is for your target behavior. If you want to increase the frequency of a behavior, that is reinforcement. If you want to decrease the frequency of a behavior, then that is punishment. So positive reinforcement is not necessarily good and happy and yay, smiles. And negative reinforcement does not necessarily mean that anything that's mean or sad or scary. It just is adding something into the environment, taking something out, increasing the frequency or decreasing the frequency of a behavior. So for example, it is possible to use negative reinforcement. There's nothing wrong with it. So if I have Kai at someone's house and there's a puppy there that I can tell is kind of annoying, but Kai's being really sweet and really patient, I might reinforce him by taking that puppy out of the room and giving him some time away from the puppy. That's considered negative reinforcement because I want to increase the frequency if he does what I want. And the goal is that in the future he will remain to be patient because he will know that I will eventually remove the puppy from the room. So positive reinforcement is what we use the most completely, really. And the reason for that is because science tells us it's what works the best. So, as you noticed on my little graph, there were 4 quadrants. You can only use positive reinforcement and you can modify behavior and an animal is capable of learning whatever you would like to teach them. But the other ones need positive reinforcement to work. So it's kind of just simplifying the training process by only using positive reinforcement and taking all the other stuff kind of out because you don't really need it and it can get really complicated and technical. So how do you reinforce a behavior properly? This is kind of the sequence of how you would want for things to go when you're asking for a behavior. You give your signal. So maybe I'm going to ask my dog Kai to lie down. So I'm going to give him the signal for down, which is simply a palm to the floor, down. I'm going to wait a second to see what his response is. If he lays down, then good boy, he gets a reward. If he does not lay down, then I wait 5 seconds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I ask him again. And that's pretty much it. Repeat until you get the behavior that you want, and then when you do, you reinforce it. So, there's a few reasons why we use positive reinforcement. I already told you one of them. There's scientific research that tells us, that's been done by people far smarter than I am, that tells us that it's the most effective way to train your dog. It's the safest way to train your dog. We also know that, with our knowledge of operant conditioning and how the learning process works, that you can only use positive reinforcement and you can modify whatever behavior you like. Another reason why we use positive reinforcement is because it's very easy to punish a dog improperly. It's very easy to punish a behavior incorrectly. And if you punish a behavior incorrectly, depending upon what your method of punishment is, you could, at best, you could make your relationship with your dog not as good, not as strong. You could kind of break down that trust that the two of you have. At worst, again, depending upon what sort of method of punishment you're using, you could cause psychological damage to your animal. And whatever behavior problem you're trying to correct, you could make it worse. For most people, using positive reinforcement is the safest way to modify behavior, because if you reinforce the wrong behavior, it's really not that big of a deal. Your relationship with your dog isn't going to change, and you're probably not going to make whatever behavior you're trying to change much worse or much different. It's probably not going to have that much of an impact. So it's just a better kind of way to go, especially if you are working with clients who are not professional animal trainers. Punishment can get really, really technical, and you don't need it. So why use it? Another reason why we use positive reinforcement is because every member of the family can apply it. So if you are doing a training session with your dog and your 4-year-old is watching you, and then you go to the bathroom, your 4-year-old can literally give your dog a treat or say good boy, and they're going to be safe and everything's going to be fine. So it's something that everybody can use equally. You don't have to have a big voice or a certain amount of muscle or size or any of those things to get your point across. And again, it works the best. It works the best, it's the safest, and it will build your relationship with your dog up as opposed to breaking it down. So some examples of kind of how to reinforce your dog would be, again, your dog does something you like and you give them something that they want. So if you want your dog to go out in the backyard and you ask them to sit and they give you that sit and then you open the door, you are positively reinforce your dog for sitting. Positive reinforcement does not mean every single time your dog does something that you want them to do, you give them a treat for the rest of their life. It does not mean that. And anybody who says that that's what positive reinforcement means does not understand how it works, because that is just completely false. Now, in the beginning, when you're first teaching behaviors, or if you're working in a distracting environment, or if you're asking your dog to do something really challenging, or maybe something that they don't particularly like, it makes sense to pair those situations with food, because food is something that dogs like, and they are motivated to work with you in order to get it. It makes just as much sense as you going to work and getting paid to go to your job. And I don't think there are very many people that are watching this video that go to work for free. So food is a great motivator. It's easy. You have to feed your dog anyway. So it's a great thing to use as part of positive reinforcement, but positive reinforcement training does not mean that every single time your dog does something that you want them to do, you are throwing food at their face. That's just not what it means. And again, anybody who tells you that that's what it is has no idea what they're talking about. So let me tell you some examples of how I reinforce my dog Kai on a daily basis. So one thing that Kai really loves to do is go to the dog park to play ball. I don't take treats with me to the dog park, but I reinforce him from beginning to end for good behavior. So before we even go into the dog park, before I open the door to the car, I ask him to sit. Once his little butt hits the seat, the door opens. That's a reinforcement because he's one step closer to getting into the dog park. As soon as the door opens, I ask him to wait. And at that point, I'm putting his leash on. If he were to try to push past me and go into the park, I would simply get him, put him back in the car, and ask him to wait again. So he learns that if he listens and he waits when I ask him to wait, then the quicker he's gonna be able to get out of the car and go. So I ask him to wait, I put his leash on. If he's patient and does what he's supposed to do, I say, okay, and then he gets out of the car. We get to the gate of the dog park. I ask him to sit again. If he listens and sits, then I will unlatch the door. Again, to him, that's a reinforcer because he knows he's getting even closer to getting into the dog park. I ask him to wait. As he's waiting, I open the door. If he doesn't wait, if he gets up, then the door closes. So he learns that if he wants the door to open, he needs to wait as I've asked. Once the door is open and he's showed me that he is capable of waiting, then I say, okay, and he gets to go into the dog park. Again, he sits. When he does sit and gives me his attention, the leash comes off. So now he's free. Now we've got to the part where we're actually throwing the ball. At this point, before we even get into the dog park, he's been reinforced like 20 times for good behavior and for listening. So that means that once we get into the dog park, he's going to be a lot more likely to listen and have good behavior because he's been practicing the whole way he came in. And he also knows that we have a good relationship. So if he does what I ask, he's going to get something for it. So once we're in the dog park, when I throw the ball, he runs and grabs it, brings it back to me. I say, drop it. And if he drops it, then I pick it up. If he doesn't drop it, I don't grab the ball and pull, because if I were to grab the ball and pull, guess what now I'm doing? I'm playing tug of war, which is one of his favorite games. So now he's being reinforced for ignoring me. So as soon as he drops the ball, I pick it up, I ask him to sit. If he gives me that sit, I throw the ball. So he's getting reinforced the entire time we're there. And you know, the same thing for come when called. If he's running off and he's playing with another dog, I call him to me. If he stops engaging in that fun behavior that he really wants to engage in and comes to me, he knows he's going to get reinforced because I'm going to throw the ball for him. So I'm not taking treats with me to the dog park, but he's getting reinforced the entire time he's there. And really, positive reinforcement to me is just good communication. And you can use this with your dog. You can also use it with your personal relationships. So if you and your spouse fight about the dishes, which pretty much I think every set of partners does, you can use positive reinforcement to remedy the situation. So instead of getting frustrated and mad every single time there's a cup left in the sink, start looking for when they do the dishes and reinforce them properly for that. Maybe every time you see them by the sink doing dishes, you go over and give them a little kiss on the cheek. And then, you know, now they feel like you're noticing when they're doing something good. How frustrating is it when you're getting criticized for every single time you make a mistake, but you know that you're doing it right most of the time, and nobody says anything when you're doing it right. They only say something when you're doing it wrong. How frustrating is that? Does that make your relationship with that person feel very good? Do you feel valued? Do you feel important? Do you feel listened to? No, you don't. So try, you know, with your spouse, every single time you see them doing the dishes, go over and reinforce them for it. Or say, you know, even just saying, hey, sending a text, thank you so much for making the bed this morning. Or, you know, little things like that really, really do make a difference. Our culture is so focused and fixated on punishment. We love to punish. We love to criticize every time something is done incorrectly. We love to, you know, people get tickets when they're speeding. I mean, it's really inundated in our society. And it's interesting because we know, science tells us that punishment alone will not modify behavior, but reinforcement alone will. So we work with clients all the time that after they're done working with us, when they really understand what positive reinforcement is and how to use it, they say their relationship with their partners changes, their relationship with their children has changed, their relationship with their coworkers has changed. We have clients who are leaders at, you know, whatever business they are employed at, and they've said that when they apply positive reinforcement in their work environment, that productivity goes up and complaints go down, and their relationship with their staff is significantly improved because the staff feels like they're being noticed and heard. They are actually being told what to do instead of being only told what not to do. And the leaders, the bosses, whatever you want to call them, start noticing, holy crap, everybody's doing really well most of the time. Or look at all this good stuff that's happening that I never even noticed before. So now they're feeling better not only about, you know, the people that are working for them, but they feel better about what they do and how it's being done. So this concept can completely and totally transform your relationship with your dog, but it can also be bigger than that. If you so choose to make it so. And like I said, positive reinforcement is not some training technique. This is not something that you should hear anybody, doing some sort of like motivational speech on. It's just part of how learning works. So it's just taking advantage of how the brain is designed to learn. We are designed to repeat behaviors that are reinforced. So if I'm hungry and I eat and then I feel full, I find feeling full reinforcing, so I'm gonna eat again later when I'm hungry. If I am tired and I sleep and then I wake up the next day and I feel good, then I'm gonna sleep again the next night. If I'm a lion out on the Serengeti and I want a meal and I practice a specific hunting technique, and that allows me to catch the gazelle a little faster, I'm gonna use that hunting technique again. So, this is not a gimmick. It is not, some hippy-dippy, oh, just be really nice and just give them lots of treats. This is efficient, and this is science. So I employ every single one of you to do more research about this. I think that starting with your dog is a great place to start. And I know that after you start practicing reinforcing your dog for doing things that you want, you will start noticing how good they are most of the time. So that's the best part about it, is if you start thinking, okay, I'm gonna reinforce my dog every single time they lay on their bed and entertain themselves, you'll realize that they're doing that most of the time. And then your relationship with them is going to change because you're going to have more appreciation for how good they are, which is important. So that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we will be back on Wednesday. Thank you. What?